Hello everyone, this is Callie Beard of KarmicTools.com, and this is our story for the month in the Venus Circle. Our activation is technically July 12th, when Venus and Moon will connect in Leo, and guess who is right there? Mars. So we have our masculine feminine initiating anew, along with that extra dose of feminine from the moon. So I like that. This is leading into our throat chakra reclamation, where we are going to reclaim authentic self-expression and solidify your new individual perspective. Deep breath. Sekhmet is going to help us do that. So this month we activate our authentic expression or unique voice at the throat chakra, right? We are really rolling now. What are you bringing into form by the end of this year? Now is the time to focus on what you are expressing and how. What do you want to be a voice for? What is burning within you to be expressed at this time? When we reclaim at the throat chakra, we know we are about to begin to express in all new ways. So it is best to start preparing as if your vision has already manifested and you are already expressing at this new and higher level. So let's practice, right? We did our clearing, just so you know, 9 months ago in October. At the solar plexus, we released old rhythms, draining practices, and negative patterns just to clear space here and now to express at a higher level, right? So we're calling that in. And I'm sharing a lot of that introductory material because I will be extending the invitation to others to drop into the Venus Circle. Last month, when I shared our story time beyond just our circle, it really did get a lot more people involved and engaged. So let's try that again. And this month, if we're lucky, we'll have Kathy Pagano as a guest to share the part of her book that I am really excited about. So we'll see. For right now, open to receive, deep breath. Sekhmet, Lioness, Goddess of Egypt. This is from Kathy Pagano's book, Wisdom's Daughters, How Women Can Change the World. And we are using stories from her book to help us in our reclamation process. And this month, this just happened to work out this way. I think it's perfect for Leo as well, but this is a powerful time where, like I said, we're getting ready to express at a higher level, and we need to be integrity about that. So the story goes, before the sun was associated with masculine spirit, it was imaged in Egypt as Sekhmet, the lioness goddess of Egypt. Sekhmet is one of the most ancient deities known to us, older than her husband brother Ptah or her father Ra, the sun god. Her name might mean strong, might, violent, as well as describing her sacred sexuality. For the Egyptians, she personified the fierce, destroying fires of the sun. This makes her a goddess clothed with the sun. According to tradition, there were 4,000 names for Sekhmet, but only a few hundred have survived. Here are a few of her names and her attributes. Sekhmet, Great One of Magic, Mother of the Gods, one who was before the gods were, Lady of the Place of the Beginning of Time, Beautiful Eye which giveth life to the two lands, Protectress of the gods, Lady of the scarlet-colored garment, Pure One, Awakener, Lady of enchantments, Opener of ways, Lady of transformations, Lady of the many faces, Giver of ecstasies, Satisfier of desires, Inspirer of males, Lady of the magic lamp, Mother of the dead, Great One of healing, Lady of the waters of life, Mistress and Lady of the tomb, Winged One, Powerful of heart, Mother of images, Lady of intoxications, Protectress of the divine order, the one who holds back darkness, Goddess of love, Sekhmet who gives joys, unwavering loyal one, beloved teacher, beloved Sekhmet. Deep breath. So, chapter 7, the dress of the sun, the woman clothed with the sun. She has a quote opening the chapter from R.M. Rilke. The girl and the woman in their new, their own unfolding, will but in passing be imitators of masculine ways, good and bad, and repeaters of masculine professions. After the uncertainty of such transitions, it will become apparent that women were only going through the profusion and the vicissitude of those often ridiculous disguises in order to cleanse their own most characteristic nature of the distorting influences of the other sex. Women in whom life lingers and dwells more immediately, more fruitfully, and more confidently, must surely have become fundamentally riper people, more human people, than easygoing man who is not pulled down below the surface of life by the weight of any fruit of his body, or who presumptuous and hasty undervalues what he thinks he loves. Deep breath. R.M. Rilke. The Father's Daughter. This is the chapter in Kathy's book. Like Furskin, most women today are fathers' daughters. Women who get our identity from pursuing masculine careers and aligning with masculine rules and beliefs. Women finally have the same freedom as men, but like the princess who is the object of her father's obsession, women are bound to the patriarchy without even knowing it. And so our freedom is granted to us by a masculine hierarchy, which still doesn't value the feminine spirit of life unless it serves its purpose. When women wear the dress of the sun, we develop a strong ego identity. We know what we want and we go after it. Women are finally getting to live out our astrological sun sign, which represents our task and purpose in life, rather than limiting ourselves to just our astrological lunar energies of comfort, nurturing, security, and reflection. The trouble occurs when our identity is based solely on patriarchy's perceptions of appropriateness and on masculine ideals of life. That's when we become fathers' daughters. The sun has been a symbol of life, enlightenment, and consciousness since the dawn of time, because our physical sun gives us life. In ancient times, the sun was honored through a goddess such as Sekhmet, and was seen as both life-giving and death-dealing. The truth is that the sun is life-giving and death-dealing. Just ask anyone who lives in the desert. There is a harshness and cruelty to the sun that we don't find in the moon or stars. The harshness results from not honoring the healing waters of the feminine moon. Deep breath. Now most often associated with the universal father, the sun has come to symbolize left brain, masculine, solar consciousness, individuality, rationality, structure, focus, intention, discrimination, order, separateness, and hierarchy. It has come to represent the patriarchal shaped ego most of us have developed. Unfortunately, it is an ego cut off from the self, our inner wholeness. Just as this inherited form of masculine solar consciousness cuts itself off from a more feminine lunar consciousness. It is this break that makes our masculine culture so dangerous, for without the cool, reflective light of our lunar nature, we become too one-sided and unbalanced. Deep breath. So we find many women cut off from our own feminine qualities, trying to make it in the patriarchal pecking order. Just as most men are cut off from their inner life of feelings and intuitions, most women are overwhelmed with feelings and don't know what to do about it. That is until something wakes us up and we leave the Father's house. That's when we discover all the gifts and talents of feminine spirit waiting for us in the unconscious. And that's when women begin to discover our true inner freedom. In the Father's house, it is important that women's ego consciousness is strong. We have the focus and determination to play the patriarchal game just as well as men do. Dee Dee Myers talks from experience. She was the first woman to hold the office of the White House press secretary at the center of power, and yet, because she was the first woman to do so, kept outside the door of that power. Like many women in positions of public power, her wisdom was most often ignored, or else it was only accepted after a long, hard battle. Women have worked hard to prove ourselves in the world, and when we do, we shine. But we still have to play by the men's rules. We are indeed all sun worshippers. Deep breath. Why we need to leave the father's house. Most women today are still fathers' daughters. We have all been betrayed by our culture, often through our own mothers, into thinking that the men's world, a world of individualism, power, work, competition, objectivity, and dynamism, is better than a world of cooperation, compassion, nurturing, feeling, intuition, and receptivity. We have bought into the myth that the outer look is more important than the inner essence. Deep breath. To survive and prosper, we have had to follow our culture's dictates and allow ambition and work to be more important than loving relationships and nurturing creativity. A culture that sees doing as vastly more important than being. The king in this part of the story has married his daughter regardless of her wishes. We don't even know that this is what has happened to us until something disrupts our lives and we are forced to change. The only way people change is if they get to know themselves, their light-filled talents, and their darkest emotions. The dictum, know thyself, has always been the first step on the path to wisdom. If we want to change the world so that we have a healthy, fruitful world to live in, we have each to do this work of reconnecting to our inner lives and understanding it. Because what you find when you look within is yourself, the archetype of wholeness, the energy that makes you, you. Deep breath. This is what the dress of the sun brings us, the ability to know and name ourselves, which leads to opening and transforming ourselves. The Father's house has become a dark house where we are expected to do what is expected of us without having the right to question or make demands of our own, let alone have any real power to effect fundamental change. That's why we must all, women as well as men, leave the Father's house and rediscover the power of the dresses of the sun, moon, and stars. We need the returning goddess energy to lead us to Lady Wisdom. When a woman has symbolically married the father, she is psychologically imbalanced. Her needs are sacrificed to her father's ambitions and power, or to his failure to achieve power. Deep breath. She is offered a narrow set of images to live by, images influenced by men's wounded perception of feminine spirit. Whether she dons the role of chief executive or politician's wife, daredevil adventurer or femme fatale, she has lost touch with something basic to her feminine psyche. We can see it too in the way couples relate now. Since the 60s, women feel more comfortable asserting ourselves with our men, but unfortunately we often compete with them rather than comfort them. A loss of desire is the result. If we women remembered our feminine gifts when it comes to our men, perhaps our marriages would be healthier. As women leave the Father's house and search for ourselves, we first go back to the land, to our mother, and to nature to rediscover our own nature. There we can throw off the chains that bind us to roles that are too narrow or too hard to bear. It seems we, like the woman who flees to the desert and Furskin living in her mantle of furs, must leave our old beliefs and assumptions behind and explore who we are as woman in herself. Deep breath. Sovereign, right? We must become virginal again. Then our doing will entail connecting with the new masculine energy she finds in the woods, in the land, and within herself. This is the masculine energy that loves us for who we are as women and gives us the self-confidence to stand up for ourselves and our vision of life. Deep breath. So let's rethink some of the masculine, let's say, overlays to our consciousness, right? Just like with Capricorn being usurped as the patriarchy as well, when we know it's the council of grandmothers. We know earth signs are feminine. We know that the wisdom that takes care of the entire tribe is feminine. And so we want our solar consciousness to have the balance of our lunar consciousness. and that feminine standpoint that we are remembering right now. So this month when we do our reclamation on July 12th, July 11, 12, 13, be a really good zone to play with. When you look up in the sky, you might see Moon and Venus together because she's evening star right now. And check in with your own throat chakra and what you're expressing, what you've been expressing for the last 9 to 18 months. And beyond that, the last 8 years, because that's the zone when we deal with the bigger Venus cycle. And how you would like to express completely new, because you know you did a clearing last October at your power center. You're no longer dancing to those old archaic rhythms that were imposed upon you, male or female. You are no longer dedicating your energy to draining practices. When we have our daily practices or our spiritual practices or our health practices, whatever they are, they should be uplifting and expansive, not draining and depressing. And the negative patterns, we've had a huge break to realign, which is another reason why our Venus activation this month in Leo is so juicy and powerful, because we're right in the zone as we approach the double Aquarius full moon to the Leo new moon happening at the end of July, beginning of August. So we're checking in with Venus and Mars first to recalibrate our sacred feminine and masculine in our Leo departments, wherever that may be for you, and reclaiming something because we cleared our power center 9 months ago. And now we can express at a higher level. We know ourselves in a different way. We have tended our creative babies thus far and are checking in with where we're at with that as well, because this is total creative artistic zone. Like, let's activate our inner artist and our inner storyteller. This is where we get creative with our story. Remember, the whole theme is about living into a new narrative and choosing the story you want to tell with your life choices and your new values and priorities. Basically, post 2020, you know it's a new ball game on so many levels, besides just Venus cycle, right? So that's our story. That's your setup. I hope everyone gets a chance to listen to it before we gather on Thursday. And when we gather on Thursday, we'll talk about what we released to clear space for what we're reclaiming this month. And I love it. Spider Woman is our goddess for the month. She's a wonderful assistant to have to Sekhmet. 4 of Water is our tarot card for the month from Pamela Eakin's Tarot of the Spirit. And it says you are outgrowing a period of contentment. Things that were once good now seem stale. Things once new have grown old. Change is the only thing that remains stable. Do not be afraid to change to regain your balance. Deep breath. And the astrological association is Moon in Cancer, so the flood. So how we feel about how we're expressing at this higher level is going to be key. And we know since the moon is involved, we care how that works and how that translates for us as individuals. So you are all invited to drop into the Venus Circle this Thursday, July 8th at 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific. All right, everyone. This is Kelly Beard of Karmic Tools signing off.